Well, Lamont Peterson has failed a drug test and the fight's been called off. And, you know, it's led to questions as to how serious is boxing as a sport about combating drug abuse within the ring, and how many others are on drugs using some kind of performance-enhancing substance and being allowed to do so with impunity. Because, as Victor Conti said, when we did on 5 Live Boxing a special investigation into drug abuse in boxing 2 years ago, Victor Conti said there are so many loopholes within the testing procedures within the sport that you could drive a truck through them, and it seems as if not much has changed.
Well, Richard Conway from BBC Sport is with us. You've been out to see Lamont Peterson in Washington, D.C. this week. Richard, how did you find him?
Well, I spent about 5 hours with him earlier this week, Ellen, and he was, it was a range of emotions, shall we say, but what came across was that this was a qualified apology from Lamont Peterson. He admits that he may well have made a mistake in this procedure he had done back in November, but he's insisting throughout it that he's not a cheat, that he didn't take this for any performance-enhancing reasons, and that he claims he didn't get any advantage in that first fight against Khan back in December, and he certainly wasn't trying to gain one.
If I go to the dentist and the dentist tell me I need my tooth pulled, he numb my mouth and he pulled my tooth. I mean, am I supposed to put that on a sheet?
So back in November, when you're having this procedure, you've spoken to your doctor, you've spoken to Barry Hunter, your trainer, presumably.
Right.
You've done your research, I would imagine.
Right. I saw it on YouTube. They do the procedure on YouTube, and they actually show you everything. And, you know, the doctor kind of talk you through everything and telling you, you know, what he's doing and what it is that he, you know, the process of what he's doing.
So you were wholly convinced?
Yeah, I was convinced that
this was safe?
This was safe, and this was not a peg.
But, you know, you've been in boxing circles long enough to know that testosterone is a drug that's banned, that's not allowed, or that in certain circumstances is not allowed to be used if you're over certain ratios and levels.
Did not know any of this.
You did not know any of this?
No, not at all. If the procedure I done is what gave me the dirty urine, then what else could I say? But I made a mistake. That's all I can say. And apologize for it and try to move on with my career.
Do you think you gained any advantage in the December fight from using the pellet?
No. You know, we joked about it a little bit, and because at the end of the day, I did that procedure. I still felt dizzy, you know, kind of, but it wasn't given to me to enhance my performance. I wasn't expecting it to enhance my performance, and it definitely did not.
Did you feel better in training from it, or? No,
I tell you, I felt exactly the same. Still felt dizzy, still felt fatigued. The ultimate reason for me doing the procedure is, you know, once they start talking about the health risks of having low testosterone, that was my ultimate decision for doing the procedure. Because at the end of the day, my health means more than anything. It has nothing to do with me trying to gain an advantage to beat Khan. Because at the end of the day, I will not feel like a winner. People are going to still believe what they want to believe, but I'm okay with that.
Boxing's got a problem with this, hasn't it?
Real problem.
Are you aware of other boxers?
I've never saw anyone take anything. But all I know is throughout the history of boxing, there have been, you know, people who have got caught cheating. But I've never seen anyone do anything.
Do you recognise why Golden Boy and Khan, the Khan camp, were so upset when they discovered that you had failed this test?
Yeah, I can understand them. But at the end of the day, some of the things they were saying afterwards, I can understand canceling the fight, trying to figure out what's going on. But some of the other things they said, I don't see the point in that.
Amir Khan's been very clear. He wants his belts back because you were using the testosterone before the December fight. That's just what he said. And that you were caught on this test in March. Are you going to give the belts back? Should the belts go back to Amir Khan?
I know. Well, of course, it's just my word that the pellets didn't do anything to help me beat him. But let's go through this hearing and let the commission decide.
So there should be no decision until you've had...
Let the sanctioning bodies decide. You know, at the end of the day, that's who's going to decide. So until that point, then, you know, I'm still the champ. I understand where he's coming from. and what he wants and, you know, how he feels. But at the end of the day, let's just let everything play out. And if that's the case, and they saying that it was in a pad, or it helped me be calm, then at that point I'd be happy to give him the bill back.
Lamont, you started this interview by apologising, by saying sorry. Does that extend to Amir Khan as well?
Of course, you know, because he was looking forward to fighting. He had an opportunity to win his titles back, but that's not going to happen now. So, yeah, I apologize to him too for not giving him that opportunity.
Do you think you'll fight Amir Khan one day?
I'm not sure, but I hope so.
Do you think you'll fight again? Period.
I'm not sure, but I hope so. It's something I always did, something I want to continue to do, you know, for at least a few more years.
This has been your life, hasn't it? This has
been in my life.
This is your gym. This is where you've lived.
This is where I live. But at the end of the day, if it's not meant for me to fight no more, then what else could I do? I'll find something else to do. At the end of the day, I'll still be happy. I just truly believe all of this happened for a reason. If it's going to cost me my career, then I'm okay with it.
I was quite struck by when you said that this was almost another lesson, or that God was trying to test you. What do you think's happening here?
I asked for something. I'm getting it. It's not the way I wanted it to be. But sometimes when we ask for stuff, God, He don't give it to you when you want it or how you want it. Sometimes He even questions, how much do you want something? That's what I think is happening here. At this point, my career is on the line. My name is on the line. A lot is on the line. But I can sit here and tell you that today that I'm not upset, that I'm not angry, nor sad. Because at least I'm getting something that I asked for out of this. And at the end of the day, I think it's worth it.
You think this case, your case,
it's worth it.
Why is that?
Because, like I said, I've never been a cheat. I don't like when people cheat. The random drug testing is something that I asked for, and I asked for it for a reason. The sport needs to be cleaned up. At the end of the day, me asking for random drug testing is taking small steps towards trying to get other champions to follow suit, and you know, just other fighters to do the same. Like I said, this is something that I actually sat down at night in my bed and prayed for.
If you could turn the clock back, and I know hindsight is an easy thing and looking back is easy, but if you could turn the clock back to November, into that pellet, into those injections, you wouldn't do it again?
It's a good question to ask, because a lot of me saying the selfish person, the selfish side of me saying, nah, I wouldn't do it. So my career can go on the way it was, and things can just be normal, and I can continue to fight and don't have to go through all of this hearings and people talking. But me, just being me, won't change it. Nope.
You wouldn't change it?
I wouldn't change it. Because I know I didn't intend to cheat. Overall, far as something that I asked and wanted to help clean the sport up, it's going to benefit that more. Now, will this benefit my career? No. Financially or none of that, because at the end of the day, it's going to cost, as far as money, it costs me a lot.
So let me get this straight.
My name, it's going to cost a lot. But is it worth it? Just to put this spotlight on this drug testing deal? I think so.
You're prepared to sacrifice your career, your good name, for the good of boxing. That's what you're telling me. And that others will maybe learn, if indeed you have made, as you put it, the mistake.
It's the way I feel. I just truly believe this didn't happen for no reason. I know. I wasn't trying to cheat. So, End of the day, it really don't matter.
Well, that was Lamont Peterson speaking to Richard Conway. Amir Khan's been listening to this, and we'll bring him in just one second. But Bunsey, just sum up what you've heard.
Well, I've heard what I've been hearing for the last 25 years, not just in boxing, but in all sports. I've heard a drug cheat justifying what he's done. And the question isn't about whether it was safe. The question was whether it was legal, because we know that steroids aren't safe in any way, shape or form. And his argument is he had no idea. There's a million different bits of technical and pharmaceutical jargon that can be thrown around. The bottom line is I'm not quite sure why this guy is getting a hearing. When James Toney failed a steroid test, he lost his title. The belts went back to the previous man. And that is the way it's worked in boxing. We've only had a problem since about the mid-90s. And there's several contradictions involved in that. For a start, there's a real problem with boxing. There's a real problem with boxing, he keeps telling us. And yet this guy's been in a dozen gyms for 20 years of his life and he hasn't seen anybody. I mean, the levels of deceit. And what, let me just tell you something about drug cheats and drug addicts. They lie. That's what they do. More than they sleep, more than they drink water, the only solid, the only basic, the only unrelenting fact in the life of an addict or a drug cheat is that he or she lies. That is the only absolute solid fact. And that guy was lying through his teeth.
Well, I'll ask Richard about that in a second, but we should talk to Amir Khan because he's been waiting patiently and listening to that. How are you, Amir?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm good.
What did you think listening to Lamont Peterson talk there?
Yeah, it's the first time I've heard him speak about it, and, you know, in a way, he does admit taking something that he should have taken. I mean, his advisors kind of should have advised him, you know, and he's been in the boxing game for a long, long time. He's been in the amateur game, and he admitted that himself, you know, you're not allowed to take steroids, you're not allowed to take anything that's going to enhance your performance, and he believes that, you know, it did enhance his performance, but he still took them, took the steroids and everything. I still think he knows deep down he did wrong, and, you know, it's just a shame that the fight didn't happen because I was looking forward to the fight. I trained very hard, I trained out my skin, and, you know, I just wanted to win them titles back the proper way.
He did kind of apologise to you, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, you know, but I think he'll take more than an apology, you know, for what happened in the last December. I mean, my life was at risk, so was his. And, you know, anything can happen. One punch can change a fighter's life, you know. And, I mean, in that fight, the way he kept coming forward and after he put down twice in the first round, the way he was recovering, I mean, I knew that this is not the same Lamont Peterson I've been watching on videos. You know, I've been watching him fight different opponents, but this guy was totally different to any other fight I saw.
Amir, I remember when I interviewed you just before you left London to head then to Los Angeles and on to the Philippines to begin your training session. You were telling me about how you felt you'd got the weight wrong, but also about how you just couldn't believe how strong Peterson was. Now, at the time, we just thought that you know, that was one of his great assets. But now, right, looking back on it, was he that markedly different and that much stronger than anybody else you'd fought?
You know, Mikey, it was like fighting two people in the ring. You know, when he kept coming forward, I was hitting him with some good, clean shots. I was putting him down, he kept coming forward. I was hurting him, but he was still coming forward. He just didn't take a step back. And, you know, at times when I was on the ropes, I mean, I fought big punches like Marcus Maidana and other names out there. And he seemed to punch harder. He seemed to be a lot fitter than them. And, you know, the pressure, he just wouldn't take a step back. But I thought it might have been me making the weight wrong, doing different things in camp, so I kind of changed what I was doing, and I was training a lot harder. But, I mean, it just shows that, you know, them performance enhancement drugs do make a difference, and I saw the difference because, I mean, it'll be hard to explain to people, but I shared the ring with the guy, and I know, you know, I spar with guys at 154 pounds, I spar with middleweights, but this guy was like a middleweight coming forward towards me, you know. He didn't feel like I was fighting with a guy at my weight.
Amir, let me ask you this. Since then, have you dwelled on that a lot? Have you thought about that a lot? Have you sort of had a bit of a crisis of confidence? Are you trying to work out why this guy was so strong and why he appeared to be able to push and walk through you?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, I've got great footwork and stuff, but this guy just kind of, you know, he weighed me down in the fight, and, you know, I trained very hard, and that's one of the reasons we've changed training trainers. I've got Ruben, who's my new strength conditioner, instead of Alex Ariza, because I really thought it was the weight that was making the difference. I was making the weight wrong, and we totally changed everything in training camp. I spoke to Freddie Roach. I said to Freddie, look, I need to work more on the inside. I need to you need to know how to fight when someone's putting pressure on me more, because, you know, I knew I was making mistakes in the fight, but it was just I couldn't keep him off me because he was so big and strong. Every time I hit him, he stopped for maybe a second, but just to come back stronger.
Amir, sorry to hog this. It's a question that I think is valid here, and I'm sure you would as well, Richard, is quite simply, when Alex or Ruben offer you a new drink or some form of tablet, do you instantly say, I mean, do you say, is this legal, or as your father already said it, or as if already said it? I mean, do you question what these guys give you?
Well, Steve, you know what, I wouldn't take it because, you know, I have a boxing doctor who sees everything, and I report it to him first to see if I can take it. Even normal medication, you know, like if I have a cough or if I feel ill, I'll still call my boxing doctor and I'll talk to him saying, am I able to take this? Am I allowed to take this? Because, you know, this is my career. You know, this is my life. Boxing is my life, and I'm not going to take a substance and, you know, and fail a drug test because I get randomly tested. I mean, my dad admitted that also, you know, it always goes through to a doctor first before I take any substance or any kind of medication, because I know how serious this is.
Okay, so let's get this right. This guy Peterson has travelled 3,000 miles to see a specialist doctor who's instructed him, given him instructions how to insert something into his hip. Does that sound like something you might do and not question?
I'd never do that. And it's funny, you know, Steve,
by any chance?
I'd never do that. And, you know, I'll always speak to my team. My team will advise me not to do anything like that. He was after he failed the sample A on April 12th, you know, that came out positive, and he was asked, did you take anything? And he said no, he didn't take anything at all.
Richard,
didn't take anything. But the thing is, he should have declared that he did take something, because how can you forget, you know, having an injection in your hip? How can you forget about, you know, having that done? So after the B sample, when him and his lawyer were there, they were asked, did you take anything? And, you know, that's when... and they still admitted first, they still first said after the B sample came out positive, they said no, they haven't taken anything. It was a couple of weeks after, that's when they kind of admitted that yes, we had this pellet thing in our hip, which you know, kind of, we had it done because my testosterone was low. That's what Lamont Peterson claims. But when I'm training hard and when I push my body through its uncomfortable zones, every fighter's testosterone is low. Every fighter, you know, has to put his body through so much stress and stuff. So that doesn't mean you can insert steroids or whatever it is, testosterone in your body, because it is illegal.
Had they not been using that special process, which a lot of drug agencies don't do, then they would not have found this. And I think that's one of the aspects that's worrying for me, that there could be a lot of testing going on, but they're not detecting this particular usage.
No, I agree. You know, I agree. And like I said, you know, I've been in the ring with the guy, and I've seen a huge difference. And then, you know, it's funny, when I met my friends after the fight, they said to me, that was totally, you know, that wasn't Lamont Peterson, that was a different Lamont Peterson. We've never seen Lamont Peterson fight like that before. So it's true, you know, what VARD is doing is brilliant. And I think most or maybe all testers, all the testing commission, and they should all do the same thing, because, you know, it's good for boxing, it's good for sport, and end of the day, you know, even my opponent, you know, we all want to do it. I'm gonna do it now from my next fight. I'm gonna do the same thing. I want VARD to be involved, because it's only making the sport cleaner, and I think, you know, that's what we need.
Well, I think it'll be very interesting now, Amir, if you put that forward and your opponent decides he doesn't want to go through with it, or anybody else decides that they don't want to go through with this VARD testing, because I think it's going to strike fear into a lot of boxers. This is
exactly. I think it just proves that they're guilty then if they don't want to do a test. I mean, how hard is it? All they did was, wherever your training camp is or wherever your press conferences are, they turn up there, they take a blood sample and they take a urine sample. Now, you know, it's not hard, really.
Amir, just quickly, I'm getting close to probably getting rid of you. How many times have you been tested over the last 8 or 9 years since the Olympics?
Well, I've been tested...
Random tested, I'm talking about.
Or numerous times. I've been tested, you know, every couple of months I get tested. Sometimes every month. It just depends on the time, you know, when I'm spending in the UK. Because even the boxing board in the UK have, you know, somebody coming to your house to test you. And... you know, I've been sat at home with my family having dinner, and then there's a knock on the door, and you have to. It's somebody asking for Amir Khan who wants to test me. I mean, you cannot say no to them. You have to do it there and then for them. So, you know, I've been doing it for years and years, since the Olympic Games, 2004. I've been doing these. So really, it's nothing new to me.
And what do you think, Amir, should happen to Lamont Peterson now?
Well, I think he's, first of all, he's bad for boxing. And, I'm just going to wait on what the commission think. I really believe I should get the belts back. And he really should be punished for what he did, because at the end of the day, all drug users and, people who take these kind of supplements or, different types of drugs or whatever have excuses. And I think this is Lamont Peterson's excuse. He didn't know what he was taking. He's a threat to the sport, and I really think he should be punished for it.
Let's get ready to rumble! Bitch, stop and stare, American nightmare. Don't let the ugly real piece fool ya. I'm Costa-Zua, you Zab Judah, 2 rounds through ya. Forget the past, I'm the future. Crowd mover, I'm super duper duper. Super, 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 super. 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 I'm 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 super.